And then he pointed out to the Matryoshkas and he said, yeah, it reminds me of the situation. And then he showed me that he, as a little boy, was helping his father in his shop. He had a building shop. And a guy came in and he really bullied his father. But his father, yeah, he was, how do you say that, vulnerable, because he needs to sell his stuff. He wanted to be polite, but the guy was really, and the young boy was sitting under the desk. And he felt so much sadness and anger for his parent that the guy was just behaving to his father like that. So he really decided then, that's not okay, and I'm never going to let that happen to myself. But then in school it happened. In the age of 11, and he was there in the kitchen, and the bullying happened again. And at that point he was just fed up with it. And he got a scissor and he tried to stab one of the boys. And immediately he felt it was not okay, and the teacher came in and they all said to him, he did it, he stabbed me. So the teacher got really angry. Every one of us has that kind of situations where we were bullied or we're the bullier, and we are all training each other in just letting this kind of fighting behavior or stress behavior, let it go. But what happened, he was suspended from school, and all parents want this young guy to leave school, and he needs to go to a psychiatrist. And at that moment I was at my office. I did not know about the story, and the telephone rang, and I picked up the phone and I heard a guy, 40 years old, I know him from my coaching office. I heard him kind of almost crying, like, can you help me? Something so out of the situation with one of my children. And I really felt immediately that something was really wrong. So I listened to his story and I said, well, I think I can help, but I first will meet your son and speak with him, just to listen what's going on. I said, at this moment, I'm just going to talk with him. I don't know, but I will see in the moment. That's always what I do. I'm seeing in the moment. So he came in, and at that moment I had something like, well, a young boy, what does it need? Maybe something with cars, with techniques, something that we don't go into the mind conversation, but get the attention. And I had some puppets. I just bought them 2 weeks before at the market. They were standing in my office. And he was really shy, and he felt guilty and ashamed. And I said, well, I'm not a judge, I'm not the police, I'm just a human being. I've also been bullied in my life when I was a little girl. So I can feel what you feel. And he looked at me and said, okay, and how do you feel about it? I said, well, I sometimes can feel really sad about that, and also really angry about that. I said, well, I have the same feeling. I said, well, can we have a talk about it? He said, yes. Is there something in the room that can help you? And then he pointed out to the Matryoshkas and he said, yeah, it reminds me of the situation. And then he showed me that he, as a little boy, was helping his father in his shop. He had a building shop. And a guy came in and he really bullied his father. But his father, yeah, he was, how do you say that, vulnerable, because he needs to sell his stuff. He wanted to be polite, but the guy was really, and the young boy was sitting under the desk. And he felt so much sadness and anger for his parent that the guy was just behaving to his father like that. So he really decided then, that's not okay, and I'm never going to let that happen to myself. But then in school it happened. And in one point he did the same thing as what happened when it happened with his father. He went sitting under the desk, or he did nothing. So he also went inside, but it was like a volcano. He went inside. And at some point, when he get that time bullied in the kitchen, the energy came out like a volcano, and he put out the scissor and he stabbed. And it's never okay to do that. He really knows that. So I worked with him through all of the Matryoshka puppets. Like there, he was at that age of 11. Everything was inside of him, but also the good things. Also his soul. Also what he needs to learn. Also what he had learned before. And also maybe what he needs to learn how to handle this. So he told me through all of the stages what happened and what he could do otherwise, but he also did that for the other guys involved, the bullying guys, but he also saw something with his parents. And I was just listening to him. And I saw what happened. I saw that he came more in his relaxed state. He was regulating his emotions. He was flying over the whole situation and just told what had to be done, what he could do, what was necessary. And that afternoon I would have a conversation with his parents. And I had something like, I'm going to do this also with them. And that was what happened. So he really and that, I think it was one of the most beautiful moments in my whole coaching practice, that I saw a little boy going from shame and guilt, and they are just in our down chakras, and we can live with them for a whole life, and it can be the obstacle in every situation. But that moment, he managed to embrace it, to see also his shadow, because stepping of someone, that's not what we need, and especially when we need a world situation right now, everywhere. We need these kind of situations. Like in Israel and Palestine, without making a choice in that. But fathers on the one side, on the other side, are now losing their children. And I saw a very wise man from one of the sides. I'm not going to say, because I'm not going to choose, because I'm choosing in the middle, and that's peace. Yeah. And he said, I'm now bringing my son to the grave, but on the other party, another father is also bringing his son to the grave. And that has to stop. And this little boy of 11 years old told me, and it might also be an example to the world, how to get the peace back in our hearts, despite what happened, and from that point of peace to meet each other, our own selves in the middle, to meet the other person in the middle, we can go to a situation of peace. So from a very small story, I can feel the link to what's happening now in the world, and it's coming up. Ancient times, ancestry, we are fighting, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But there's some good about it, that we need to let this shadow out of a lot of ancient centuries from our ancestors, what's still in us, even in our cells, even in my cells, and to embrace that and to face it and to work it out and just to feel what we are. Love, light, flowing energy. Wow, it's all coming together also here. I just can feel that.
Yeah, this is also meaningful, and I think it always requires attention in the kind of world we are living in. And I think it has always been important in the past. It's just like we are getting busy with so many things, we don't realize, these things are so important. But someone has to stay consistent in their self-awareness, day in, day out. I know it's a little bit difficult, but what could be like basic steps, one can follow to be, aware of the moment, aware of their own self, aware about their self consciousness, you say, or the subconscious mind or the conscious mind. Everything, maybe you would like to put some light on that. How to do that?
Love that question. And you said somewhere before it's difficult. It isn't. It's so easy.
Okay.
It's about time, space, and breath. So even now, when I just stop the talking, just bringing my awareness back in my backbone, feeling my body in my chair, my feet on the ground, feeling the energy around me, feeling the energy inside of me, feeling between us. Free attention is the way out of our unconscious patterns. So the way how to do is just stop for a while and focus on a thing. You can do that in meetings. You can do that in every conversation. You can do that in every situation that you are into. Even in stressful situations. I once learned from real wise women. She said it's like the movie The Matrix. Everything is going on. And there are all lines that are happening in our lives. But we don't need to step out of our field. Stay in your own field of energy. And just be aware of what's happening. And when you just really get relaxed while things are even stressful things, you can choose what to do. In every moment you have the opportunity to choose what you are doing. And your breath, like when I hold my breath and when I do it conscious, I'm okay. So when I do this in breath work, I can retain my breath for 2.5 minutes without getting into stress. Why? Because I tell myself, I'm okay. I can do it with this breath. But when I get in a stressful situation and I'm not aware of, and I'm doing things, then I'm doing things out of alignment, and then it's not working out. Then it gets even worse. Then accidents are happening. Then we get into a conflict with each other. So the first thing is stop it. And free attention, we only have this moment. So become aware of your breath, become aware of your gestures, become aware of your energy. And even when I say this now, I just practice this. And then I get really get the alignment with myself and in connection with the other person. And then there is space and there is freedom and everything can happen in that moment. So stop it. Bring your attention back inside. Focus on your breath. Focus on the energy. Focus on how you are aligned. Wait. And then you have all the space to choose, to create, to withdraw, to put boundaries. And
yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I think that's very useful, and it's like a DIY. If you have to remember that. But yeah, thanks again for your time, Miranda. It was lovely speaking to you, and I think it almost brings us to the end of this conversation. Would love to see you in the future episodes with more interesting topics. But before we end, would you like to end this with some message or something that we forgot to mention? Or maybe wrap it up.
And it just came up in the present moment. I will thank you for inviting me this, but also that you come from a country, India, from your former ancestors. You're living now in the Netherlands, and I'm living in the Netherlands. Did a project in India, and for me, it started there, where I get so in the way we did things in the Western world. I learned in India how to stop that and how to get more aware of the energy that is there. So it's not a coincidence that we have this energy from both our countries, or how that comes together. And I love this, to express this in this way. So thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Thanks for mentioning that, Miranda. And it was lovely speaking to you, and hope to have you soon in the future.
Same to me.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.